Hey everyone, welcome to another HBCU conversation here on HBCU Game Day. Let's get right into it. I am literally talking to a couple of HBCU heroes, Tracy Pennywell and George Lynch, former UNC Tar Heel, former Los Angeles Laker, former Philadelphia 76er. I'm a big fan. I've got to know George the last couple of years, so I've toned down the fandom just a bit, but I've got to turn it back up because George and Tracy are doing something right now with HBCU Heroes that is really huge, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. George, tell us what you guys have going on. You're trying to help out athletes who are at home, maybe need some help with this distance learning that a lot of people are dealing with.
Yes, although, with the coronavirus attention going to the first responders and all the hospitals and the, lack of needs that they are dealing with, we have a lot of HBCU student athletes who have to go out in distance learning. A lot of people might not know that it is not talked about a lot, but some student athletes that go to HBCUs are first generation students. Some are, qualify for the Pell Grant and assistance. And what we're wanting to do is help the HBCUs throughout the country and provide the student athletes, men and women, with laptops and computers for their distance learning challenges since the virus.
Yeah, Tracy, you co-founded HBCU Heroes with George, and you guys are just like on the front line right now. This is something that a lot of people, if they don't put a lot of thought into it, they might not realize how big of an issue it is because we're so connected to our phones and we fall under that impression that we can do everything on our phone. But I challenge you right now, go write a dissertation or a class project on your phone and tell me how many days that takes.
Exactly. And that's the reason that we're doing this, because George and I both have been talking to professors and we've talked to a couple college presidents and different people out there who are at HBCUs and on the front lines there. And because only a third, actually, of HBCUs prior to this even had online distance degree programs, and some of them had courses, but only about 30 of them did. You're talking about 2/3 of HBCUs who then had to take all of their learning online. That has trickled down to students, including the student athletes who don't have these computers. And the reason that George and I are so enthralled with helping the student athletes out is because we realize that if these student athletes can't keep up because they don't have computers, it's going to affect their eligibility. It's going to affect a lot of things when they come back. And we don't want them to fail out of class or not be able to respond just because of a computer issue. So that's really important. And I know you went probably to an HBCU, but anyone that's ever gone to see a halftime show at HBCUs or has ever gone to a classic or those kinds of things, sports really drive HBCU platforms. And so that's for us why we want to make sure that we're keeping these student athletes they're able to do what they need to do with their learning, their distance learning.
George, you're a retired athlete. You've coached as well. You know what the life is like from both sides. I mean, these kids are going through not only what they're trying to do in the classroom, but they got to figure out, how do I train? How do I practice? How do I keep social distancing? Their gyms back home are closed. So there's a lot of things going on in their life right now. So this would go a long way towards at least trying to ease some of the many challenges that they might have compared to even some of their classmates who don't play sports.
Yes, definitely. The challenges are there. And, I know at least for a student athlete on my side, when I was coming through, if I had an excuse not to do my work, that was good enough. So we don't want to give any of these student athletes to have any distractions or complaints that they didn't have a laptop or a learning device to continue their education. And we don't want them to feel like their university is not supporting them. So in both ways, the professors want to do their jobs, and we want to help both sides, the people in the academics and the student athletes on campus.
Tracy, you guys are taking devices, but it doesn't necessarily have to be brand new. If it's in good shape and, slightly used, a little bit of love on it, I mean, that'll work as well, right?
That absolutely will work. I mean, the main thing here is that, we talked to a mom just last week who said that she has 4 students at home. She has her college student, but she also has 3 younger, this person's siblings at home. And she can't, the parents right now are not at work. They're working from home, and the students are working from home. So if you have a house full of kids plus the parents, it's just too many computers that need to be used. So for us, whether it's a gently used computer or, because we're a nonprofit, we're able to get educational rates for some of these corporations to give us computers as well we can buy. So we just really are looking for donations of either monetary or gently used computers to lighten the load.
Yeah, that's a great point. You guys will kind of be able to get the discount pricing, so that's good to know as well. And speaking to your point, guys, Tracy, George, I have 3 kids. The little one, he's only 5 months, so we're just going to take him out of the equation. But I have two elementary girls, and by the time they do their work, sometimes they have to record like a presentation. So we've used up to 3 different devices on them. The first week, I thought my kindergartner could use my computer, and then, we kind of go back. That lasted 1 week. And I was like, no, you've got to have your own thing.
It's very challenging. And, it's something because no one expected this to happen. I think if there had been some kind of warning, that you got to remember these student athletes and the HBCUs, everybody got sent home and had to start distance learning. I think that most of them were on spring break, but then after spring break occurred, they had to come back and they were expected to go online. So there's a learning curve with that, trying to get mobilized to have computers. And then, Polly, the one thing George and I keep talking about is if, in fact, this does not subside and schools don't come back in summertime, or if they don't come back in the fall, you're talking ongoing. There's going to be new students that are going to need computers. I mean, this might be a problem that won't resolve itself till, year end.
And Tracy, how can people directly get in contact with HBCU Heroes if they want to make a donation or help out the cause?
Glad you asked. You can donate at hbcuheroes.org. That's www.hbcuheroes.org. And also, we're online. You can hit us up at on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at HBCU Heroes.
Okay, we have George Lynch on the line. So I know people out there watching are like, man, you better ask George something about basketball. So I got you. He's got a few minutes here. George, there are no sports happening right now live. So we're seeing a lot of replays. I caught you, I guess it was your senior year, taking on the Fab Five national championship. I'm watching that game. I'm having flashbacks of where I was. Here's a curious question. Would you rather walk past the TV and see a George Lynch Lakers classic, a George Lynch 76ers classic, or a George Lynch UNC classic on TV? Which one would make you stop the quickest?
I think anything with Carolina, and the reason why, some people like, you must be crazy. When you were playing college basketball, it was at the purest form. You had your teammates, guys that were recruited into the school with you, guys that spent 4 years at the university with you, guys when you didn't have $10 for a pizza, you all pitched in. So in college, it was at the purest form. And I think when you get to the NBA, the rosters change every year. People don't talk about that, unless you're the core of the team, so you really don't get to know your teammates at the pro level. But at the college level, I mean, you guys are, scraping rubbing nickels together to get a pizza. And that's when you really find out who friends are and what your teammates are all about. So I would definitely give a nod to any time my college games are on. it brings back great memories.
Tracy, you went to school, classmate of George at UNC Chapel Hill. How many times did you have to sponsor a pizza for George on Franklin Street?
Let me tell you, George was very well taken care of at Carolina. I didn't have to have for him in college, but it is funny because yes, we've known each other since college. So I've followed him just like a fan. I just happen to know him personally, but I followed him through college, through when they played the Fab Five, and through the Lakers and the 76ers and the Hornets and everything. We've been friends for a long time.
George, this will be my one fan moment. I try to be professional and not do this, but since Tracy's on the line, I think she'll back me up here. How are you able to keep your cool under pressure all the time? I remember the game where you became one of my favorites. I think you guys were playing Georgetown. It might have been the old ACC Big East Challenge. And
yes.
If my memory serves me correctly, because at 45, I can sometimes misremember things. But I recall you playing against Alonzo Mourning. And if people don't remember, he was like the most intimidating person in college basketball. And I just thought before the game, like he might go out there and eat George. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I just remember you standing up to him, and he might have blocked your shot, but you always would come right back, and you just didn't seem fazed at all. And I was like, man, that's my dude right there. Now after that game.
Well, a lot of people don't know. Alonzo and I have history goes back to high school. We both from the VA, and we both played public school our early years in high school. And Lonzo and I met up in the state finals in Virginia. And he might have had 16 points and 15 blocks against us. And we took it to him every time we had an opportunity. We ended up winning the state championship my junior year, and it was Alonzo's senior year. I think a lot of people predicted his team to win it. But we were a very talented high school team. We had about 5 guys play Division I basketball and football. And so I like to say that, that was probably one of the best high school teams that ever came through the state of Virginia, the team that I was on in Patrick Henry High School in Roanoke, Virginia. So Lonzo and I had a lot of history. So when I played against him my freshman year and his sophomore year at Georgetown, you had him and Mutombo, I was not afraid to go in there and mix it up with him.
No, not at all. Not at all. And in the pre-internet era, no one knew any of that unless you were from there. So that was a great game. I don't even remember who won or lost, but I just remember of all your games, that was one where I really gained a lot of respect for you and really just enjoyed you over the years. Okay, my fan moment is over. Tracy, bring us back. Again, if people would like to help and give an item or a computer, how can they get in contact with you guys one more time?
Thanks again. And it's www.hbcuheroes.org. Once again, that's hbcuheroes.org. And they can also reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at HBCU Heroes.
And a bonus question, we'll go to overtime. I've followed you guys on social media. Tracy, you guys got some heavy hitters who have shown support for HBCU Heroes. I've seen D.L. Hughley offering support.
He's one of our ambassadors.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the secret sauce? What is the secret sauce there?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked that, because even though people like D.L. Hughley, who is our favorite, he's just a good guy. He actually always talks about how he only got his GED. However, DL is a staunch HBCU advocate and really, really supports HBCUs. And then we have Bill Bellamy, same thing. He went to Rutgers, but when he heard we were doing this, he's like, count me in. I'm down for anything HBCU to help support. Michael Black Blackman. We've got Steele Spikes and Rob Covington, who plays for the Rockets, who went to Tennessee State. We've got a lot of people, including even Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson, who's they're both analysts for Fox. These guys, they see the struggle and they want to help. And a lot of times what happens, a lot of people in those industries and with that amount of success, they don't get to know what the struggle is. But because of George and the resources he has and reaching out and talking to people, we're telling them the stories that we know, and they just want to give back. So they support us on social media. They write checks. They come to our events. They do everything they can to help.
All right, that's awesome. Once again, HBCUheroes.org. We are working together to get devices and computers in the hands of HBCU student athletes who may have some challenges at home, like we all do, especially the parents are out here struggling too with this distance learning, but we are all in it together. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of HBCU Conversations here on HBCU Game Day.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for having me.